Hi there. So today's podcast is all about Steve Jobs, uh, who has died just a few weeks ago, and what can we learn about his innovation, marketing, the technological sides. Firstly, um, Apple seems like a huge corporation. Well, it is a huge corporation, and it looks like it's unachievable to reach the same level of dominance in the market that Apple has. But we have to remember Apple had lots of challenges and struggles. And the fact that Apple started from nothing, and I'm talking about stuff you can read in the books, Secrets of Steve Jobs, and The Return to the Little Kingdom, and the recent biography that was released just a few days ago. So Apple started from nothing, you know, and they struggled for years. Apple shipped immature products initially. The Apple One was a bunch of components, and only in Apple II it was combined into one unit. But they started because they saw there is a need, and it's one of the uh, things you can learn here is when you combine passion, something you're passionate about, and you feel in your gut that it's right to do, you should pay close attention to what people are saying about what you're trying to build, with this passion, and adjust accordingly. So it's about being passionate, it's about paying attention to your prospects, to your users, whether you deal, whether you're an IT professional or you're a marketer, it doesn't matter. Go with your passion, but still listen to what people are saying about your offer. And this happens several times for example, when Steve Jobs and Steven Wozniak told their computer hobby club about their new, the basis of Apple One. It wasn't yet a computer. It was just a few chips on a board, but it still saves some time putting all the components together. So they introduced this to the computer enthusiastic club, and nobody was really thrilled about it. One of the people there who had a shop with the computer stuff looked at it and told Steve, you know what? I'm not interested in those boards with chips on them. I'm very interested in getting a complete computer that I can use and sell, and I'd be willing to pay much more than the $50 or so you want to go, $25 you want to get for those boards. I'd be glad to pay 400, 500 for a whole packaged computer. Steve did not dwell in the feelings about being rejected in regards to the initial offer they had with the motherboards. He listened very carefully, and he immediately acted on what was thrown at him. So he told this computer store owner, "Sure, we'll work on doing it." And the day later, he arrived to the computer store and closed the deal. So the other thing was that Steve looked at investors in a different way other than other startup leaders were doing it at that point in time. And actually it's happening today as well. When you have a new project, a new product, a new invention that you want to take forward, you usually look at investors and you think, hey, oh, well, they'll give me some money, but they're going to take control very quickly. They'll try and do what they think about the product. They'll try and put some marketing stuff, which maybe I'm not familiar with. And maybe they'll even replace me because I'm not a whole lot of a good manager. But, Steve looked at it in another way. Yeah, he thought about investors as people who have lots of experience they accumulated while helping other startups. And he understood it could save him time and effort if he listens to them. So he put a big value tag on the experience and of those investors, and therefore he wasn't afraid to add venture capitalists to the mix. He did put them under control. He didn't give them everything immediately, and he selected them very carefully. But he was very focused on the experience they can bring rather than the money. So keep this in mind when you're looking at your project, at your invention, at your product. Okay, now when Steve Jobs asked an investor to help him when they really needed to take the Apple II forward, and he was dealing with the same venture capital company, Sequoia, who helped many other startups such as Google. When he approached them, and he was, he was starting out. He only had himself and Steve Wozniak. So the Sequoia VC manager told him, you know what? We're not going to invest in Apple unless you get someone who's great in marketing in the team. Now the lesson is you should always have a marketing expert in your business. It could be someone who is part-time. I mean, your business, your product, your service, your invention. It could be someone who is part-time, or even it could be a service that takes care of part of the marketing aspects that you need. Or it could be even you, if you learn a bit of marketing and you specialize doing it over time. But then you would need to delay your other business or initiative operations because you need to take the time to learn marketing. But in any case, you have to have someone who knows to do marketing and is a professional in doing it. At some point, Steve turned to be this marketing genius, of course. But when we just started, he had to put somebody in. Now, in any case, the other important habit that Steve, so remember we talked about Steve as a person who was introducing offers to his prospects. He was listening very carefully to their input, and he was responding immediately. He didn't, spend time thinking about the disappointment or why his initial offer is not, taken. He just immediately responded to the actual customer input. So this happened the same time when Steve was trying to get some money from the Sequoia venture capital manager. So this VC tells him, I'm not gonna give you any money until you get marketing expert on board. Steve immediately told him, who would you recommend? So, and he got 3 options and he picked one, and it was very successful. But in any case, and of course he got the money he wanted. So each time Steve got a no as an answer, he immediately would ask, what would you like then to have? or what would be needed for you to say yes. Now, when Steve got a no, he would not feel sorry, retreat, or go and think or dwell about it, or try to convince you to take what he had anyway. He would ask, what would you like to have him bring on the table? Okay, let's go to the next tip. So now at this point you may say, hey, I don't have an invention, I don't have a product or service, I'm not selling anything, I'm not building anything, I'm just an employee. But if you have ideas, if you have an initiative you want to take forward in your the company you work for, those same principles I'm sharing with you will take place. So you would have to look at your your company's customers, or your users, or your whatever people you're providing service to, and you would ask yourself, okay, what do I think they need? Then you approach them with an offer of a service, of a solution, of an addition to a service, and you listen to them, and you respond immediately to what they tell you about your offer. Then you'll need somebody to do the marketing, even if it's not a product that you're going to sell. You need somebody, or you need to train yourself, but you need somebody who will take care of marketing this new idea. And marketing is all about creating the want, creating the need in your, going to the people you want to sell the idea to, in presenting this idea in a way that looks great to them. They want to take it. Anyway, it is important to note that Steve built a team from day one. He was doing marketing and later on sales and leadership, and Steve Wozniak was doing the hardware and software stuff, and he had other members doing financial management and getting things built. But he wasn't doing things alone, and he was very carefully selecting the people he was going to work with, and he invested lots of time building the core team. So team building is critical. You have this book, Good to Great, and it's all about they took a look, the authors of this book took a look at the best companies in the recent decades, and they summarized it saying those companies turned into great companies by first building the team, selecting the best people. Only then they put them on the bus, so to say, and then they thought about where they're gonna take this bus to. So most people just think about, okay, this is my idea, this is what I want to do, now let's find the people who can help me do that. But you want to do it the other way. This is what Steve has done anyway. So you need to get the best people that you can work with, then figure out what you want to do with them. Now, Steve also had a focus on building cheap and quick and shipping on time. This was in the first stages of the product creation. And he wanted to make sure the product is innovative and meets a need, so people would forgive about any lacks in quality. And as people were buying, wanting, proving that this product is really going to succeed, he would then focus on quality as well, and very, very thoroughly. But not in the early days, because why would you put lots of efforts on quality and looks and all this stuff if this product, if nobody buys it, or if it's a new service you want to offer your users, your company, then figure out how to bring the basic functionality to life very quickly. Make sure it works in general. Don't put many efforts on making sure it's perfect. When people say they really want it, then you can put your attention on quality. Now, let's talk about massive leverage. So, in most cases, when you build something, you're thinking about how this will benefit my my customers, my users, my company. And indeed, if you have, let's say, 500 customers or 500 users, you benefit them directly. That's great. But you could benefit many more people if your product, service, or idea can be used as a platform for others to create on top of it their own solutions. And this is what happened with Apple and the Apple II computer. So when Steve was starting to ship Apple II, at some point there was a developer. He always made sure, he and Steve Wozniak, they made sure that the Apple can be used as a platform for others to develop their programs on. So at some point, there was a developer who created a software called VisiCalc. It was something that might be similar to Microsoft Excel those days, but it was very basic compared to today's Excel. And what happened is this was the first kind of software that allowed people who deal with financing, accounting, anything related to money and resource management, they allowed them to put the data inside the program and get summaries and highlights about what's going to be in the future and what happened in the past with this data. So they would be getting results for their calculations in hours instead of weeks. Now this caused a boost in Apple II sales that almost over flooded the general sales that Apple had. So at some point, the sales of Apple II, just because of VisiCalc, were bigger than the sales for general purpose use of the Apple II. Now, what you want to do when you design your product, your service, your idea, your new modification to a current service, what you want to do is look into the possibility of creating it in a way that other people can take it and use it to build their own solutions. It may be very generalistic, but I assure you that once you try and take your solution and think about how this can be used by other people instead of just how am I gonna give it and make sure my direct beneficiaries use it, you'll get much more people using it. Okay, I want to go back and talk a bit about the quality testing, or making sure your product is perfect. When Steve was shipping the first units of Apple, the Apple I, they have never gone through rigorous testing. So they just put all the parts together and made sure the computer's power on, seemed to work, and that's about it. If it worked immediately. That was fine. They would leave it working for an hour or two, and that's all. They wouldn't test it in many scenarios. They wouldn't put it under rigorous checkup. And of course, later on, quality was very important. But bear this in mind, when you're just starting out to build something, you don't need, as I said, you don't need to go through massive testing and checking. Make sure the basic functionality works, show it, get approval to get it going, and then you can spend, and you should spend time on making sure it works and it's high quality. In the initial phase, you should focus on innovation. For Apple, it was having the Apple be the first computer that uses a keyboard and screen for interaction. And in Apple II, it was the first color screen. So innovation was very important. Make sure it works, and then they made sure there's quality. There was also another aspect of the innovation, thanks to Steve Wozniak, genius, and focus on creating very efficient boards with less chips, less components than many other manufacturers were trying to do at that point. And Steve Wozniak was the brain, while Steve Jobs was very persuasive. And this is how he got Wozniak on the team, actually. Because when the Apple I started selling, the Apple team is Steve and Mike Mercola, who was their marketing manager. They understood they must have Steve Wozniak put much more time on creating the other units of Apple I and then the version of Apple II. Steve Wozniak wasn't very glad to leave his job on HP. And so what they did, what Steve Jobs did, he used any trick in the book, and he even invented some other tricks on persuading Steve Wozniak to come and work for Apple in a full-time job. He cried, he called Steve Wozniak's friends, family, he paid a visit to Steve Wozniak's parents. He just did anything he could to persuade Steve Wozniak join the team full-time. And this is something which is very common with Steve Jobs. He was targeting something, and then he would do whatever he could to persuade anybody who's related to it to join, to buy, to pick on the idea. Now, let's talk about the biggest breakthrough that Apple had. You may think that the biggest breakthrough was when they did their first $1 million or sold the Apple II, whatever. The biggest breakthrough in Apple's history was actually when they showed their first customer board in the Homebrew Computer Club, and we talked about it. And he was planning to sell those boards for $25 a piece. But then one of the, this computer shop owner, told him, yeah, I don't want the boards, I just want a fully full equipped computer. And Steve Jobs immediately took the offer. Delivering on this request multiplied the revenue size many times. It put a bunch of money in Apple's pockets, as well as ignited a much larger scale of operation, because they had to build many computers very quickly, and then it trained them into doing it furthermore. And the most important thing, it validated there is a need, there is a market with high price point. because they sold the Apple One unit for more than 500. I think eventually they sold it for $666 and 66 cents. Okay, and another interesting thing is when you think about it, the same price is still there when we're talking about the iPhone, the iPad for several of its models. So I just thought about it. It's interesting. It's like yeah, Apple has lower price and high price products, but still it's like the main product is trying to hit a specific amount of money, amount of income. It's not too cheap, it's not too high. Now, anyway, although Apple made much bigger revenues later on, of course, Steve noted this as the biggest bump upwards in their history, because that what made them think we can really go forward with a high priced offer. Now, Steve was also focused in connecting with the right people rather than coming out with the best product, as I mentioned. So he knew that getting a great team he enjoys to play with. Wozniak was the tech guy, and then the sales, the marketing, and all the other guys, and offering stuff to buyers who would lead to creating a great product. So good to great, as we mentioned. Now, yet the biggest advantage Steve Jobs has brought was he never was looking like others. He was never looking like others did to avoid risks. He was never trying to avoid risks. He was very passionate about Apple, but he never feared losing. He was very thorough, putting the plans, making sure Apple can succeed the best way possible, but he never took his status, so to speak, or the company's achievements too seriously, such that it will freeze him. So in spite of the tremendous fight he fought for Apple, he was not paralyzed as many other companies, especially when they grew large. So he demanded innovation and daring, and that is why Steve Jobs and Apple could do the unconventional endeavors and win. And as he said in his own words, he was forever hungry and foolish, but in a brilliant way. Now, let's go to the next section, which is innovation secrets of Steve Jobs summary. So we have 7 innovation secrets, additional one besides the one we've already discussed. First one, and there may be some of them may remind you of what I talked about, but they're still worth going through. So the first tip is do what you love, and that way you'll have the passion needed to carry on through the struggle. So when you have a worthy goal, an idea, a service, a product, whatever, it will never come quickly and easily. You need to be passionate about it. Otherwise, most chances, when you struggle, you'll give up very quickly. Okay. The next tip is create a vision and use it to motivate others to join you on your goal. You need to create a vision that is big, very big, but yet brings a lot of value to many people who will use it. And this kind of big vision will cause your team members bring out the best of them, because it'll not be enough if they just do what they know. They'll have to go much further beyond. If it's a big vision, then people feel great that they can make this kind of vision happen. So you don't focus just on, let's say you're creating a new service within your company, or you're creating a new, product you want to sell. Don't just create it as a standalone product. Have a vision that this product, this idea, this new service is part of. Talk about this vision and make sure you're passionate about it, as we said, but make sure you communicate it with your team. If they're just building a product, there's no passion, it doesn't bring the best of them. If it's a product that is part of a big vision, then it's better. Okay. The third tip is get creative. How do you get creative? Well, you should seek for novel new experiences. You should try out new methods, new tools. Seek for fresh ideas. Seek for people and solutions that they need, and create connections between those and your vision. So what I'm talking about is when you want to get creative, to get new solutions that nobody else has, you should, dwell in the sea of this subject. So if it's about a new computing service, let's say it's cloud services, you should learn a lot about it. Try out things. Share and hear about ideas. Look at what other people are doing. Look at the solutions. And then it's not always about creating a totally new solution. It's more about creating connections which are not trivial. And Steve Jobs, one of the things he did, he was specializing in both technical stuff, computer stuff, and humanity. That's why he could look into, well, how do I create the iPhone? Technical point of view, it does this and that. But from the human point of view, it solves a big problem. It creates a great experience. So this is how he took his marketing and general human nature ideas into, or connected them to, the whole technical stuff that he learned about. Okay, the fourth tip: sell dreams, not products. Sell dreams, not solutions. So when you're creating a new solution that will serve your accounting department, let's say, you shouldn't be selling the solution. You should be pitching the outcome of using this solution. Now, when I'm saying sell dreams, I'm not telling you should lie or you should, promise stuff you can't deliver. I'm talking about, look at your customers, at your users as people who have dreams, not as just merely customers or users, and help them fulfill their dreams, and then sell it. Okay? So if you're creating a new service that will shorten the time for your accounting department to go through their monthly budget review, you talk about how much time it will save them. So for example, they can feel much better much sooner and do more. They can go home earlier. They can be more confident about their ability to deliver their reports on time. Okay? Now, don't ask your customers or users or prospects what they need, because they do not innovate. They iterate. They don't know what they can have. They can only think about, well, in most cases, and each one of us, when we use something, we don't necessarily think how it can be innovated. We think about, well, how can I get the bigger, an iPhone with more memory once we have iPhones, or how can I get a computer with more disk space, or how can I get a new software product, not a new software product, how can I get, well, the faster version of this software. So it's you who's dealing with innovation, creating new connection and inventing new stuff from the current existing components. You have to become your users, to become your customers, and then use your innovation ability. Okay? Great. Tip number 5 on this 7 tips list: say no to 1,000 things. Okay, what's this about? It's about simplifying and focusing. So when you start on your innovation endeavor, you meet many people. You, as we said, you get to know about new ideas, new solutions. People want to join you, but then they want to do something new together with you, maybe not your original idea. All this indeed makes your innovation more powerful. It's, you have many more options, but you also lose on focus. You can't do everything. And if you try to do everything, you end up doing nothing. So you should leave out what is not a must to be there. The focus should be on, Steve Jobs and Apple's focus was on simple yet elegant solutions. Okay? So you have to strip out many ideas, many components, many features from your products and ideas, and you have to focus on the main items that must be there. Everything that is not a must is just an add-on. Leave it out. You can always add it back in if somebody asks for it. Okay? But this requires guts. This requires saying no. It's not simple. Okay, tip number 6. Provide, well, I want to go back to what I said about number 5. It's not simple to have the guts to say no to things. Well, as you review a new option, and you consider it being not a must, and you have troubles saying no, think about the feeling you'll have when your initiative will fail, and then say no. Okay, then you have this feeling, if I'm not going to say no to this, I will fail. All the efforts I've put in will be for nothing. They will be wasted. Then say yes. Tip number 6, provide an extraordinary experience. Okay, so Apple are focused on enriching lives, not on selling computers. Think about how you feel when you use an Apple product. And that's why Apple stores do not have sellers. They have concierges and consultants, and they allow you to try all their solutions right there. So your product, your idea, it can be very simple, but still when people use it, they should have great experience. Whatever it is, it could be a great experience because it's simple, or because it's easy to use, or because it works. You should have at least one kind of feature in your product. Main feature should leave your users, your customers having a great, extraordinary experience. Okay, last one, how to create wonderful presentations. Okay, so we have here 7 items in this last 7th tip. So create an aha moment. Okay, what's this about? It's about, I think it's about showing how many problems people had, showing the traditional solutions, and then showing how much your new innovation can turn things to the better. So people can see this new kind of solution they never thought of. And this solution, this aha moment, is based on the efforts you spent creating an innovative solution. Okay, but you need to get it into the presentation so people are, wow. Okay, the second tip is, it's called the rule of 3. Okay, people can focus and remember no more than 3 things maximum. So always focus on the most important 3 messages you want to deliver. And even if you go, when you talk about your idea, your service, whatever, even if you have to expand, make sure that when you begin and when you end, you iterate the 3 messages, and they should be the core of your presentation. The 3 main ideas, the 3 main messages, the 3 main features, the 3 main solutions. Okay. The third tip is share the stage. Don't do everything alone. Bring on your customers, your team members, your even people from the crowd who are listening to you. Why you want to do it? It's because you want to show that you're not alone. You want to create some more interest. It's interesting. It's kind of phasing in and out, which it creates more interest. So people are not bored looking only at you, and you can show several perspectives of the same idea. Tip number 4: introduce heroes and villains. So, shall I say, you want to engage people emotionally. And this means, let's talk about the most boring thing. Let's say you're gonna sell an idea about using a new Excel template for the sales department. So, because it will save time creating the monthly revenue reports. Okay. Now, you should talk about the heroes and villains. So the villains are the committees and regulators who required using a specific kind of report. And then somebody created this old Excel, and people thought, well, we must use this. It takes lots of time, lots of effort. It's not clear, but we have to use it. And now the heroes are, let's say, the people who reviewed the whole situation and came out with a new type of Excel that would take 30% the time of the original one. And it will be much clearer to use, and so it's much better. So then why do you need the villains and heroes? It's because you want to create, you want to take your listeners through an emotional state. And you need this because otherwise they'll be bored. They will not be engaged with the whole idea. Okay, so let's go to the next point. So, it's people say one picture can replace 1,000 words. You need more pictures and less text in your presentation. Each slide should have a picture if possible, maybe one or just few words, certainly not more than one sentence. Nobody will be able to read a full page of text, and if they do, they don't need you to be standing there and giving this presentation. All you want is to have a picture that engages, that bring some emotions to the people who are watching it, and just a word or few words that describe the main idea you wanna talk about in this slide. Okay, tip number 6: Twitter-friendly headlines, focused short messages. So when you speak, you want certainly if you put some headlines in your presentation, if you want to put a headline, make sure it's very short. Twitter allows you no more than 140 characters, and I'd say try and shorten this as well. You want sentences, headlines be very short so people can remember them and can understand them immediately. Don't create headlines that are kind of smart. Make sure you have a clear message, very short one. Okay, tip number 7, the last one, and we've mentioned it: sell dreams, not products, but bring enthusiasm. So aim to change the world, not sell products. And if you're providing a new service, aim to change the way the whole company is operating, even if you just are providing a new cloud service available to your users. Okay, so, and maybe one or two more small tips from the new book about Steve Jobs. So when Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak created the blue box, it was much earlier, before they were working on the computer chips and the Apple I. It was a box that they created to allow long distance calls without paying money to AT&T, whatever phone provider. And they sold it for $150 per unit. They didn't sell lots of them, maybe a few dozens, but it created a huge amount of confidence because they saw they can actually work together as a team, and they could have a possibility where Steve Wozniak would create a great solution that can match or can deal with a system that actually deals with billions of dollars, the AT&T phone system. So they got the confidence that they could create very innovative solutions. And then since they actually sold it many times, they also had confidence that whatever Steve Wozniak creates, Steve Jobs can sell it. So the main point here is when you want to work on your idea, your initiative, your product, doesn't matter if you're an entrepreneur or an employee, you need to get confidence. And to do that, you need to go out and start doing things, start chasing your idea, start creating stuff. At some point, if you have enough passion to take you through the failures, at some point you'll have a breakthrough and you'll get confidence. Even if it's a small project, this confidence will charge you with enough energy to go through and create a much larger solution, go into a much larger idea that you can use to express yourself, to match your vision, and bring lots of value to all of us. And with this, I'd like to end this episode, and I encourage you to read, or even better, listen to the books I mentioned, and I'll put some information about them. Until next time, see you. Have a great day. Bye bye.